Another episode brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbooking app. Not only is it safe, but it is secure and reliable. And Deke, there is a promo code. Could you tell them what the promo code is, please?
You sure you want me to?
I mean, because they hear it from you all the time. I just feel like it's better when it comes from you.
Okay. It's pretty simple. It's easy to remember. It's MOATS. MOATS.
Boom. Can't go wrong with that. So for all the first-time users out there, if you use the promo code MOATS, you'll receive up to $1,000 in deposit bonus money. So stop wasting time, download the app, use the promo code, and get an opportunity to make a little money. Had a mega trade in the NFL over the weekend. The Lions and the Rams, man, they traded first overall quarterbacks, man. So the Lions, what the Lions gave away was Matt Stafford. They traded him to the Rams. And then for the Rams, what they traded to the Lions was Jared Goff, their starting quarterback, 2 first-round picks, one in the 2022 draft and then the other in the 2023 draft. And then also their third-round draft pick for the 2021 draft. So, yeah, definitely a sizable amount of assets, both draft-wise and obviously quarterback-wise. This is a guy in Jared Goff who the Rams had just signed to an extension last year, I believe. And you see what they all gave up for Matt Stafford. But to me, I still feel like this was a great scenario for almost all parties. Okay. I feel like for the Rams, this is a surefire win. This is a major upgrade at quarterback. They've obviously been in win now mode the past 3 years. You can see how aggressive they've been through free agency and through just trades these past couple of years. And obviously it's gotten them to a Super Bowl. It's got them to a divisional round in the playoffs, back 2 years now as well. And like I said, man, you're getting
I don't think they've had a losing season under McVay.
They haven't. Yeah. They haven't. Yeah, so you think about that, and now you get a quarterback that's going to be able to match what McVay wants to do. Think about that, because obviously with Goff, I can tell you from experience, like we would tell you, man, you could hear McVay having to tell Goff where to go with the ball. I mean, they would do the hurry up offense. So we talked about how the Patriots caught on to that and how they combated it, in terms of just being a little bit slower in terms of getting out their huddle, or a little bit slower to show a certain look defensively. And it showed, because Goff struggled mightily, in that game and going forward since then. Matt Stafford, though, man, he can make every throw. He's extremely smart, competitive, and you don't have to question his toughness. Not only has he played through some crazy injuries, he's played in Detroit. He doesn't win a lot in Detroit. So if you could, seriously, like I tell people all the time, I'm like, give me a guy that shows up to work every day for a losing team over this front runner from a winning team, because the front runner, as soon as he gets hit in the mouth, as soon as things go bad, you see them shut down. You see their play disappear. You see them get down to the dumps. Whereas that guy who's been a part of that losing team, he's hungry. He wants to do whatever it takes to win. And I just think that we're going to see that with Stafford. When you put Stafford out there in LA with McVay, with a legit team, dude, they're going to be bona fide like favorites in the NFC. That's what I think that trade is for the Rams. So that's why I think the Rams definitely won. I think Matt Stafford is a huge upgrade. You go from Detroit and that disaster that you had, from an organizational standpoint, coaching standpoint, to now you're going to a stable situation, a situation where it's a lot more optimism around it. Now, granted, it's going to be more pressure on you to perform, but they're not asking you to do something that you're not capable of. And that's the other thing. You've done that, and you've already played with top pedigree receivers in terms of Calvin Johnson. So you're not going to go in there and be starstruck. You're not going to be wowed. You've already had talent before. But in terms of, and even the Lions, I think it's a win for them. I think that, number one, they get rid of Stafford and, a large portion of that contract. But at the same time, they're getting draft picks. And we talk about, man, draft picks can be very, very valuable if you use them correctly. And you got a stopgap in terms of, all right, this is my bridge quarterback. If he comes in here and impresses, great. If not, I got these first round picks. I can go draft our successor and be fine. But the loser in this deal, without a doubt,
I was going to say, hold on. Okay.
Yes, without a doubt. Jared Goff is the loser in this, man. He goes from the perfect scenario where he had the high-powered offense in terms of McVay pulling the strings. They had a nice, talented system around him. Obviously, he was able to thrive under Todd Gurley. And then this past year, he had Cam Akers. Defense, like I said, everything was stable. They were winning all the time. It's, when you're winning all the time, people don't necessarily come for your job the same way. Now you're going to Detroit where it's, like I said, organizational dysfunction. They're going through another change. And I don't know if you heard the press conference for the new head coach there.
I did not.
It was kind of weird. He was talking about biting legs, and if I get knocked down,
I remember when Miami hired him as the interim head coach like 5 years ago, and he was like that. He was like so intense, man.
Yeah,
I was shocked he was like up for head coaching this, in 2020. Like I couldn't believe it.
Well, we've all been laughing because when obviously Eric Bieniemy didn't get a head coaching opportunity this year. And the rumors now where he's not a good interviewer, we're just like, well, this dude's talking about biting kneecaps. You got the guy in Philly who I don't even know.
Oh, that was bad too. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, oh yeah, he was just nervous. I'm like, if that's nervous, I mean, like, what did Bieniemy do then? Like, he had to go in there and exactly he couldn't read for him to be a baddie because it couldn't have been worse than that stuff that I just saw, man. But when you think about Goff, that's what he has to walk into now. His first meeting in Detroit is going to be drastically different than with McVay. And then when you talk about just the team and the roster and the way that it's constructed, and then the division as well, that's not the best scenario for Goff. Goff is going into a situation, like I said, where it's very much bad. And who even knows if the Lions even believe in Goff? They could be looking at Goff as, like I said, the stopgap. In between draft picks, they could draft a guy this year and use Goff as trade bait. Hey, man, we'll trade Goff to this team for a couple other draft picks. So just knowing all of that, I just don't like the scenario for him at all. And it sucks, but you brought it on yourself. I mean, when you sign these extensions, if your play isn't up to par, that is what happens. I mean, that's the shrewd business element of it. And why multiple teams do operate like that. They don't have that necessarily loyal element to it because you would assume that this guy took them to a Super Bowl, you would be a little more loyal, but just not the case right now, man.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said with Goff and about being like a stopgap quarterback. They might even release him after next year because some of the stuff I was looking into was like his contract's really bad this year, but the dead money isn't as bad for the next few years, so you can actually cut him and potentially not face as bad of consequences. I'm kind of with you. I initially thought, I was like, Lions won this deal to get 2 firsts and a third this year, plus Jared Goff, who as a career, he hasn't had an awful career. He's just been playing bad these past couple seasons. But then...
And Goff is still, like I said, he's good, but he's the bottom tier of the good class. In terms of, is he going to flirt around that 4,000? Yes, he can flirt around there, but is he a guy that can win you a game with his arm? I personally
That's what he's going into with Detroit, what you're going to have to do.
Absolutely.
But I thought about it more and more. If you have a chance to get a guy that you think is going to put you over the top, I guess you just do it. Because if we look at the trade and it was maybe a first, a second, and a third in Goff, I think a lot of people would say, oh, Rams won this deal. But since it's just 2 firsts, maybe it's the whole branding with, oh, man, first-round picks. Yeah. You got to think, too, with the Rams up to this point, McVay only not having a losing season up to this point, how many draft picks have they traded back and forth and not having first-round picks up to this point, and they've still been fine?
I mean, you think about what they gave up to get Jalen Ramsey. I mean, they don't mind.
To get Jared Goff, too.
Absolutely. They don't mind moving pieces. And then for them, they're looking at this and saying, well, what's better right now, a first-round draft pick or Matthew Stafford? And to me, I don't have an issue with any of these quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, the guys we just named. But as it pertains to 2021, if I'm going into that season and I could get Matthew Stafford, absolutely give me Stafford, man. Because obviously they would have to give up, I think, a lot more to have moved up to a spot to be able to draft one of these younger quarterbacks, right? And if you're Jacksonville, why would you flirt or even consider moving or moving out of that spot? Because you obviously know, hey, Trevor Lawrence, the guy I want to take. So thinking about that, I don't think the situation was best that way,
Yeah, and I feel like with Stafford, if you're trading for one of those first-round quarterbacks, like you're going to be tied to him for the next 3-4 years. Like I think your job's kind of tied to him, right?
Yeah.
With Stafford, I think it's like a 1 or 2 year thing where you're trying him out here because I think both of us agree. I think we had Stafford in like our top 10, 11, 12 last year. I think we believe in Stafford. At the same time, I mean, he hasn't had that much winning with the Lions. At the same time, it was the Lions. Now it's like your real chance. All right, everything's around you, perfect for you. Let's see what you can do. So there is a little bit of pressure there. We're thinking that he's going to live up to it, but there's a chance that he doesn't. And in that case, Rams could just move on from you then.
Hey, this year or next year, you move on, wash your hands, and you're through with it. Obviously, it'll be criticized and things like that. But in the moment, I love the trade for the Rams because this makes them that much more closer to winning the Super Bowl. With Jared Goff, I feel like the longer he was there, they were moving further away from being legit contenders.
That's fair. Again. Yeah. At least you're closer for these next 2 years, maybe.
Without a doubt, Matthew Stafford is a huge upgrade over Jared Goff at quarterback. Not only eyeball test, but like I said, playing against these guys, Stafford can ball. Stafford is definitely the guy that I think is going to take that team over the top. I'm a fan of him in that scenario with McVay and the pieces that they already have in place there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I lean towards the Rams winning the trade a little bit, but it goes back to what you're saying. It seems like all parties want, maybe outside of Goff, just because the Lions are in full rebuild mode right now. Yeah,
right. And that's the thing. If the Lions weren't in full rebuild and they were legitimately looking at Goff as, hey, this is the piece that we're missing, then I'm like, yo, Goff, this is a great scenario, but I don't think that they are looking at him.
He did say, at least I'm somewhere they believe in me. So
he said it, and you know what it sounded like? It's kind of like, hey, man, I got dumped, but you know what? At least now I'm on the market. Somebody's going to love me. That's what we're doing now. It's like, it was more so they wanted to get rid of Stafford, and they wanted to do the rebuild. All right, where do you want to go, Stafford? All right, cool. We'll see you there. It's courtesy for
everywhere
you,
but New England.
I heard that. And then I also they were talking about the reports of this because Patricia, which I did kind of like. I can see that.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that. I can see it. That'll be super petty, though.
I wonder with the New England thing if it was just, I don't know, maybe because everyone talks about not having fun up in New England. It's so regimented. He's 32 years old.
He wasn't having fun in Detroit. Come on, he wasn't having no fun in Detroit.
Yeah,
he was getting his head beat in.
I guess I'm reaching. I don't know why New England then.
But see, I thought
if it's not Patricia, if we take that out of play.
So I said either Patricia or the Brady element.
Okay.
Because you think about this, Cam Newton is very different in terms of his approach. So he wasn't viewed as the replacement to Brady. I felt like he was just so different in styles. Whereas if Stafford goes to New England, Stafford's style is Brady-esque in terms of pass heavy. It's not this athlete, this big burly guy that can run around and do some things like Cam can. This is a guy that's going to throw that rock and air it out and things like that. And I just think that he would have been directly compared to Brady a lot more than how people view Cam Newton going up there in New England. And also it was a transition year for New England as well, right? In terms of, man, who knew what they were going to look like, the opt-outs and everything like that transpired. I just think...
And their talent is shit on offense. If you just want to get to that, they don't have any weapons.
Right. So when I think of all that, I'm just like, yeah, I can see why Stafford wouldn't want to deal with that because that's going to be kind of hectic. And that division is, obviously on the come up, man. You obviously got the Bills you'll be dealing with, the Dolphins you'll be dealing with. Who knows what's going to happen with the Jets? But it's a different scenario. Whereas obviously with the Rams, they've already kind of they haven't dominated their division, but they've established themselves as legitimate contenders.
They finished first,
right?
Not in the regular season, but in postseason, they're the ones that beat the Seahawks in the playoffs.
And they've had success in that division for multiple years now, whereas obviously New England were on their time has come, and now it's all right, they're in rebuild mode. They're trying to retool and figure out themselves up there. So that's another reason why I can see Stafford just saying, hey, I've already came from this situation in Detroit. Why would I want to go back to that in New England where I'm going to be scrutinized even more so?
That's just hilarious, though. The one team. Why not the Patriots and the Jets or the Patriots and another shitty team?
I'm with you, man. Even though I don't think people talk about the New York media, but because the Jets, I still don't think it would have been the same because I don't think anyone believes the Jets are going to be good. Whereas if Stafford goes to New England, the expectation would be that they're supposed to be good.
Yeah.
And we would look at them like that. And I just think the expectation for him and the criticism surrounding him would be a lot more intense compared to if he went to one of those other teams like that.
Yeah, he'd have to carry an offense kind of like what he's been doing with the Lions, but way worse talent. Man. Way worse.
Yes.
Nothing.
Yes, indeed, man. And you could be outside. You remember he's been playing in a dome, so that's another element of it, man.
There's all these little things that add up.
I'm just saying, playing in Boston is a lot different than Detroit. In a dome, way different than LA. You know,
Yeah.
it does play a factor in that thing, man.